excellent day for an exorcism.
I see dead people.
Suffering will be legendary, even in hell.
It's alive!
Fear on film. Hi, I'm Joe, and welcome to a special bonus episode of Fear on Film. Today we have Stephen McNamee, director of the new found footage thriller Muffled.
Muffled man twirls and swings. Call his name and hear your screams. Whisper, whisper, his terror sings. He rises slowly and breaks your dream.
Hey, Joe, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate this. So first of all, let me just tell you, I really enjoyed, your film. It was a lot of fun. I'm a sucker for found footage. It's like, I think my second favorite horror subgenre. I mean, I love this stuff. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Well, thank you. And I appreciate that. Yeah, found footage or something, it's there's like an intimacy to it, right? Where you feel like you can feel almost like more connected to the characters because it does feel a bit more raw. Just the
Yeah.
way it's shot and like the cameras they use and everything. So yeah, I get that. So thanks.
Yeah, no, definitely. Now, before we get into your film, as we, found footage, it has its roots as far back as 1980 with Ruggero Deodato's Cannibal Holocaust,
Right, yeah. Yes.
which is infamous, which I'll be covering actually on another episode of my other show.
Nice.
I'm kind of dreading it, but I got to do it, right?
Yes.
And then, of course, we had the boom in 1999 with the Blair Witch Project, and it's pretty much been consistent ever since then. What do you think? What is it about this prominent horror subgenre that keeps people coming back for more?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I do think like part of it, like I said, is the intimacy. Because they often like if it's done well, you kind of feel like you know those main characters, right? You can see your friends like whether it's on Zoom or you've been fooling around with like a film camera on your own, and like you've made footage like it, whether or not it's like horror based or not. And so I think people connect with it that way. And I also think like, and from like a filmmaking perspective, it allows you you can probably like you can try to like limit your costs somewhat, right, by doing a found footage, because again, like with the rough camera work at times, or with like the way you mic it, I don't know, I feel like there's just like a lot of advantages of doing something like a found footage. And then like you said, there's a built-in audience for it that people just keep like coming back for it. So it kind of like, I think they work on it, like they work on the filmmaker side and they work on the audience side, and then they keep like building on each other essentially, which is why you keep seeing these films come out, I think.
Yeah, and also on a budgetary scale, I mean, it's just I think it's proof positive that you don't need mega bucks to make a good film. You got a good
Yeah.
story, a good concept, a good cast, and that's the core of good filmmaking. It's not the bucks and the major budget and all the resources.
Yeah, totally. Like you don't need like huge, like crazy VFX necessarily with a found footage film. So yeah, it's like, yeah, it is much more about the story, which is definitely cheaper than something like some crazy special effects or something.
No, absolutely. So why don't you tell us a little about yourself and your film?
Yeah, so yeah, my background is in comedy. Like I trained through Second City and Upright Citizens Brigade, and for a while, like I've been doing improv like around New York City. Then I like did a sketch comedy show, and then I was doing like web series, and then I read William Goldman's book. I think it's called like Adventures in the Screen Trade, and he talks about himself as being like a genre writer, and it kind of like opened me up to be like, oh, like I want to do that. Like I like, as much as I love comedy, I would love to like take what I do and like place it in different genres. And so, and I love horror. So I was like, oh, what if I take what I do and like move it into like the horror genre? And so, yeah, so then I kind of came up with this concept for Muffled. And yeah, this is my first feature film. I had, written and directed like a live sketch comedy show and like web series and short films and stuff. And this is my first feature. So I don't know, I was very excited to, yeah, dive into it.
Yeah, no, you did a really good job, I have to tell you. So like you mentioned, your roots are in comedy. You have the web series. There are no second takes in life. Take two.
Yes.
Um, which I mentioned before we started rolling. I was watching some of your episodes, and they're really funny, really good stuff.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean, I love that type of humor. I really do. It's a very unique type of humor, and I love it.
Yeah,
And
yeah. I mean, like, yeah. It's like for anyone who doesn't know, like most people haven't seen the web series. Every episode's between 20 seconds and 2 minutes, and it's like every episode is like one continuous shot. And yeah, we had no film crew behind it. It was, just a camera and microphone was stationary and ready to go. And yeah, I got to work with I think over 24 actors for the
mhm,
series, which was a lot of
mhm.
fun. So yeah, it was a great time.
Yeah, and I love the format, 20 seconds. I mean, I didn't expect it to be that short. And then
Yeah,
when you get that sudden end with that sudden, the punchline, I
yeah.
mean, it just had me in stitches, and
Oh, thank you.
good stuff. So, how did you transition from sketch type comedy to building like tension in a horror feature length film?
I think, like like I said, like I'm a horror fan, so just from like watching horror films, I think I got a sense of like what actually scared me and what didn't. And then just like personally, like I was just trying to think about like what freaks me out. I remember like playing the game Bloody Mary. I don't know if you ever played that when you were a kid.
Oh no, I
Uh,
wouldn't dare. I was too chicken
yeah,
shit.
yeah. So like I was thinking of like like stuff like that, and just also like just like how vulnerable you feel sometimes when you're sleeping, or if anyone ever like suffers from like sleep paralysis, where you're in that like stage in between like waking up and
Mhm,
sleep where you can't really move, and like your brain fills in that with like spooky images sometimes.
mhm,
And yeah, I don't know. I just kind of thought like it would be so interesting to just kind of like take all those things that like kind of freaked me out and then kind of like move it into like this film. And then I think it was Jordan Peele who said like like horror and comedy. It's the same rhythm often, like where you think you're taking people down a path and then you twist it, and that like, that works for a joke, like a punchline.
mhm,
It also
mhm,
works for a scare. And
mhm,
so I think it kind of actually like it rhythmically it made sense the way to write it to kind of like either cause dread or to like
mhm.
wait for a comedic beat or like a joke to put in. So yeah, I don't know. It felt pretty natural actually.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'd never thought of it that way, but that's absolutely true. Comedy and horror, when it's successful, it's all about the timing and the beats and the
Yeah, totally.
yeah. Now, I really dug the approach where I mean, because it's genuinely creepy through, and
Thank you.
yeah, and there's two sequences in there that I mean, let's just say I don't want to spoil anything, but
Yeah.
certain things when you're sound asleep and there's something you're not aware of. I mean,
Yeah.
that is genuinely creepy, and you have a couple of shots that the way you did them were unsettling. It was really
Yeah, no,
impressive.
thank you. Yeah, because I
Yeah.
think again, I think most of us, right, we're afraid of like what is going on around us when we're asleep, or like sometimes even this like when we're trying to fall asleep and you just hear these weird sounds, or like the shadow doesn't quite look right, or you're like,
Mhm,
did I remember to like lock my apartment door, or I mean, you just kind of I don't know, it becomes unsettling, and or there's silence, but then you just hear like a weird creaking or something, and yeah, so I'm glad it worked then.
yeah, definitely. Now, what I found interesting is that a lot of found footage or even, straight narrative, horror films will go with an existing urban legend,
Hmm.
creature, whatever, and you chose, to create your own rather than something like a Slender Man, for example. W
Yeah.
was this choice driven by not wanting to kinda paint yourself in a corner with, being limited with existing lore and rule sets?
I thought it would. I honestly, I thought it would be fun to like create something that felt familiar to people but was new.
Mhm,
And like so, I started like before I wrote one line of the script. I started writing a lot of creepy rhymes. And
Mm.
that's how that's and that inspired me for the script. So I just like I said, like I just thought about Bloody Mary and things like that. I was like, okay, well, what could I create that feels similar, like to people, like, oh, I feel like I've heard that before, but it's just something like it's like an echo of their childhood, essentially, is what I was going for. And I just kind
Mhm.
of like that challenge. Like, to me, that's where the fun of writing is trying to think of something, like new like that. So yeah, that's kind of how it came up.
And it's a very smart approach. I mean, you want to give something familiar, but something original and something that resonates with familiarity.
Yeah.
And there's nothing as creepy as a freaking child's nursery rhyme. I mean, I mean, this goes back what to Freddy Krueger, one, two, Freddy's coming for you. Uh,
Right, totally.
I mean, you talk about nightmare fuel. Uh, now,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're right. I was just gonna say, because yeah, there's nothing creepier than like children like singing like a creepy children's rhyme, like in their voices. It's so unsettling, that juxtaposition of like those like childhood voices, but then like this really dark, creepy rhyme. And yeah. So anyway.
Yeah, and I love kids, but not when it's like moments like that. I'm like, nope, don't like kids.
Right.
No,
Yeah, exactly.
hope they're with creepy clowns, man.
Yes.
Now another element that you infuse here is the online obsession with true crime.
Yeah.
And that's big, especially in podcasts. There's a lot of true crime podcasts. I mean, shit, you look at Netflix and they got a lot of
Yeah, I
yeah,
consume all of that. Yeah, I know. I was totally thinking about that. Because again, like as like I think I've said before, like I'm part of the problem. Like I consume a ton of true crime,
right.
but there are times when I watch a documentary or listen to a podcast, and I really wonder about the reasons behind the person doing the podcast or the documentary. Like, are they really trying to be helpful? Are they really like searching for fame? Like what are they, like, what are their goals actually? And I became like fascinated by that. So I thought it'd be fun to like take true crime and place it then in like the horror genre.
Yeah, and you know what, your characters, I mean, they're definitely in that category of sensationalism.
Yeah.
And I mean, I dig true crime. My wife, she adores true crime. She consumes and consumes, and
Yeah.
these murders and how they try to get away with it. And I don't know if I should be unsettled that she's trying
Right.
to figure something
She's
out.
learning. Yes.
Right. Be a good husband. That's what I got to do. But to me, I see that stuff as it's a fascinating insight into the criminal mind. In that, and I do believe that there is a duality within us all. I mean, in that
Right.
it exists in us. I mean,
Yeah.
inherent evil, and but we choose not to. And but yeah, it fascinates me. So that true crime angle, I really dug, and this I guess a club of online sleuths was pretty unique.
Yeah. Right.
Uh,
Thank you. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And I actually like that came to that because I was watching like a Dateline episode once, and like they're like part of like how this case got solved was by this like group of like online cold case like club people who they had never really met in life, but they all like kind of like worked on these cold cases online. For
Mhm.
better or for worse, right? 'Cause sometimes you see that, and they decide on someone who actually wasn't the perpetrator, wasn't the
Mhm.
criminal. Yeah, when I heard them talking, I was like, oh, that's so fascinating. It'd be fun
Mhm.
if I like made these characters like part of a club like that.
Right, right, and kinda, it also brought to mind that, the Netflix one, Don't Fuck with Cats,
Yeah, yeah, that was
and
a very creepy, killer, and weird documentary.
yeah, that was a one and done for me. I'm a cat
Yeah,
lover, and I'll
yeah,
never watch that one again.
totally
Um,
fair.
now the way it was shot, I really enjoy the way it was shot because some, filmmakers who do, these type of films, they rely too much on the, shaky cam
Yeah,
and off focus. It's going, "Look, it's so real, it's imperfect now," or they
y-
try to make it too crisp and clean. Uh,
yeah.
and, how did you
Um,
balance the accidental camera work to keep the audience engaged?
Totally. Yeah. So before we started filming, one of the first people I ended up deciding to like join the film, her name is Samantha Tetros. She was the cinematographer, and she's a huge horror fan.
Mhm,
So we discussed like our love for horror films and what we liked, what we didn't like, and we spent a lot of time like talking about like what type of camera to use. And Sam, she spent a lot of time like researching cameras. And because basically like we didn't want like a camera that was too cheap or too expensive, because we wanted a camera that like these characters would actually use. And then we decided on this, like it's called like a prosumer, which is kind of like in between like what like you and I might buy just for fun, like for family stuff, versus like what you might do for a film. And then when we were filming, there were times when we had the actors filming, and then there were times when we like kind of did these like subtle fakes where Sam would take over. And so, and Sam is, incredible film, she does like, like real high end things as well. So there are times that we're like, ah, that's too shaky, like, Sam, can you take it over and like let's do it. So like it, kind of like you hit that sweet spot where people aren't feeling like experiencing nausea or something because like the camera is shaking so much. But it still feels intimate and like found footage. So I thought like Sam did like an amazing job, and the actors too, just kind of like working together to like get that right balance, I think.
No, it definitely worked. And I'm very picky when it comes to found footage because I've seen some of these. It's like, oh, it looks too structured. It looks too set up
Yeah.
and stagey. Same with the cast.
Mhm.
And you struck that balance really well.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Now in Muffled, which is pretty cool, reality begins to glitch as the characters dig deeper into this, the occult. What was your
Yeah.
creative process for designing these digital and supernatural glitches?
For that, I definitely worked with our film editor, like talking about kind of I think they're called like artifacts or something, which
Hmm.
works especially in this because like if you've ever been on a Zoom or a FaceTime, things glitch all the time, right? And
Right.
so you just kind of like you just kind of like accentuate that a bit more. And then also we had a great VFX person who also just like added things like here and there. And like again, it's like it's really subtle. We also like worked with like a colorist after for color grading. And so you kind of like work with those three, like you kind of like they each do like kind of subtle things, and then like the overall effect, you're like it becomes very creepy suddenly.
Right.
um but it's really like trying not to do too much, right? Because if it becomes too special effects oriented, I do feel like you lose a bit of that intimacy that is fun about found footage.
Mhm.
um and yeah, you can do, and like with like that night vision, like there's like night vision is creepy on its own, and then if
Mhm.
you add anything to it, right, like suddenly it can become even creepier.
Right.
Yeah, it's just kind of like playing around like with the world we had, like with like what with our options and on our budget level, and then being like, okay, how can we make this like be creepy on like with what we like had available to us. And that was part of the challenge, and like I don't know, it was part of the fun. So
Yeah, now, another aspect that really stuck out to me was, like found footage monsters. They're notoriously hard to pull off because seeing too much can ruin the scare. And I love the way you balance much of the legend you showed on screen versus what you left to our imagination.
yeah, thanks. Like one of my favorite films ever is Jaws,
Oh,
and I
yeah,
love
yeah.
the story of Steven Spielberg saying like he saw the shark and he's like, oh, it's not going to work. It's not like it wasn't realistic enough for it to be on screen all the time, right? So like then it became much more about the anticipation of the shark and the dread of the shark, and I thought that was so brilliant. And I
Mhm.
often think like with lower budget horror films, like you said, sometimes you're like, I want to see the monster. I want to see the monster. Then you see the monster, and you're like, oh, you know what? I didn't need to see the monster.
Right.
Because again, they just at the budget level just didn't like quite work. It looked too cheap or something or fake.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, so I was trying to think of ways where, yeah, it's more like, yeah, it's more mental. And again, like another favorite, one of my favorite films is like the original Paranormal Activity, right?
Mhm.
Where it's really about like why am I so scared when a door swings open or slightly, like starts turning on its own or light flicks on, where it's not really about the monster itself. It's just about like what is going on in the darkness,
Mhm.
like outside of view or like right at your peripheral vision or something. And then kind of taking that and like applying it to this film essentially.
Yeah, because you feel its presence. You know it's
Yeah.
there, but you can't see it. It's not tangible. You can't reach out and smack it with a baseball bat.
Right. Yeah.
But it's there, and that is the ultimate, creep factor, which I'm a big fan of. Now shooting this, what was the most challenging sequence to shoot in Muffled, and how did you overcome it?
Huh. Well, I don't know if this is challenging. Like, we were hit with a hurricane, So we did lose a day and a half due to a
Oh,
hurricane. So that
oh,
because we were filming in Louisiana during
oh,
hurricane season.
oh, oh,
Um,
wow.
so that was a thing. We were very lucky that the house we were filming in didn't like lose power because it was kind of rural. So if it had, like, we might have been like SOL. Yeah, but even that, like, finding the house, like, we were going into production. We had like we were a week away from starting filming, and we didn't have the house yet. And I think for like and a specific scene, like, I mean, probably like each actor might have a different opinion. But like, so one of the things about this film is there are these like Zoom calls, and you're like, oh, that should be very simple, right? Just like essentially like six people on like a video call. That's actually very complicated. Like, if you don't have super high tech equipment, because
Mhm.
like this, like the Wi-Fi needed to have like six people at a time, like, can really not work out well because there'll be like delays and stuff. So we actually ended up kind of often cheating it, where like we'd have like one actor at a time, then the other actors would be off screen doing the lines. And like they were so good at getting the timing down, then our film editor of like cutting like little like um just video shots like here and there to get the timing even better. So it's like it looks perfect and real, but
Mhm.
that's actually not like how the filming went. Because like, because it seems so natural, like the way they're talking, like you would never like realize that it wasn't all done at the same time.
Mm. No, it looked great. I mean, now in modern horror, what do you think? Because we are going through a renaissance of sorts in
Yeah.
horror, and it's fantastic. I'm loving every minute of it. What do you think makes a modern horror film truly legendary or memorable to today's desensitized audiences?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, like, I mean, I guess for me, it's definitely like playing around with genre, right? Because I think there's a lot of like comedic beats in my film, but it's not a parody. Like, I'm not doing scary movie, right? Like, it's a
Mhm.
horror film, but it has a lot of comedic elements. Um, and I think you're trying to tap into something that, again, is like going out in the world, and then just like moving it subtly into the horror space, right? So I think that is what, like, I think that's what audiences are looking for, because again, it's like something familiar but then new. So like I said, like for me, it was like, oh, I love true crime. What if I move that into the horror space? For someone else, it could be like, I don't know, like any type of anything they're seeing, like whether it's like from YouTube or like Reddit or something, right? That they're pulling in because people have like a familiarity with it, but then it's then placed fully into the horror genre.
Mhm.
And then, because then people are like, oh yeah, what would I do in that situation? I feel like I could be in that situation.
Mhm.
And I think that's what people are connecting with right now.
Well, I mean, I think audiences eventually get bored of the
Yeah.
same shtick or the same gag or the same device. They'll eat it up in the beginning, but eventually, like, yeah, I've seen this before, and they get bored. And that's good, actually. That's a good thing because it challenges filmmakers like yourself to reinvent or try to figure out new ways to
Yeah.
scare the audiences and take a novel approach. That's why we're getting films like like yours or like Obsession and Backrooms, because they step back and go, okay, yeah, we have this type of horror, we have that type of horror. How are we going to step it up, and how are we going to give our audiences something different to justate?
Totally. Yeah. Cause I think, again, like it's like, as we talk about like with comedy, if people see the punchline coming, they're not going to laugh as much, right? Like, you're trying
Right.
to take them down a road, like, oh, I've been here before, and then suddenly you twist it when they're least expecting it, and
Hmm.
that's when the joke lands, and that's when the scare lands.
Hmm.
And so yeah, I think yeah, like you said, I think like we just have to like keep trying to push it and trying to think of like ways to like keep the audience engaged, and where they feel like, oh, this is fresh. This isn't just something like a slightly different name, but the exact same beats of the film that I've seen 10, million times before.
Yeah, and that's why the horror genre is flourishing, and that's why
Yeah.
Disney and Marvel are dying,
Yeah.
because they just don't get it. I mean, they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna fill the screen with a million superheroes, and they're gonna fight." Yes, uh, that worked beautifully back in 2012, but we've seen it
Yeah.
a million times since, and but they're not getting it. But you know what? That's good. Let them stay on that road, because you guys in the horror community and in the indie film industry, you guys are going to flourish. Because
What?
you
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, keep up that stupid shit, guys. Keep it up. We're going to go over here
Well,
and shine.
but again, I will say, like, I'm pro all genres. Like, I just think, like what they did was, like, when they made Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, that was such an interesting choice. But he
Mhm,
like brought so much to that character, right? Because he was such a gifted actor and so
mhm,
comedic and things. And yeah, I'm hoping even in like that space, like I'm hoping they like take some more chances with like who they cast next in these things, because and then
mhm,
like give different types of filmmakers a chance. Because
mhm,
I think there's always more interesting, like new interesting things you can do in any genre. I don't care if it's like
mhm,
holiday, horror, action, like yeah, like superheroes. But like you said, like once people understand the exact pattern and the exact beats, that's when you have to change it up, or they're gonna
mhm.
get bored.
Yeah.
Because in horror, like like in the 80s and 90s, for there's a time when it was just like Friday the 13th 9,
Right.
Nightmare on Elm Street 7, and you're just like, oh, I feel like I know this over and over. And then Scream came
Mhm,
and like just twisted like with like the meta commentary. And then Blair Witch came, and then Paranormal Activity. So like you can see like how things change. And now like with Obsession and Backrow, like you can just see how these things are like moving and evolving. I think horror is probably the best at like changing things up after a
right,
time and be like, oh, it's things have gotten stale. Let's switch it up. And
right.
like maybe because it's like often newer filmmakers who get the chance to do horror. So like they have to take chances in order to like stand out and to like do something memorable, like you said. And so maybe that's why it's happening.
Yeah, and I think I think this is my theory, because horror is also deeply rooted in indie studios.
Yeah.
In the 80s, they were, like you said, they were able to change it up. I mean, yeah, we had a lot of slasher films, but then every now and then we get something different, something unique,
Yeah.
because we had Hemdale, we had Cannon, we had Avgo Embassy,
Hmm.
and now we have A24,
Yeah.
Magnet, and Neon, trying something different. And again, these are indie studios. They're not driven by bigwigs who go by statistics
Right.
and all this bullshit. I mean, they're driven by artists, and
Well, yeah. No, I think you're right. And I think too, like with horror, like horror is very primal, right? So maybe that's part of it too, like where you're trying to tap into like the part of our like brains that haven't evolved fully, or as completely as things. So like there's just like these fears that we have that you're trying to tap into that allows for like yeah, these horror, these
Mhm,
independent studios to kind of like yeah, take chances on that, like you said, rather than worrying about an algorithm, just
mhm.
playing around with people's fears. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Now let's talk about your cast: Katya Martin and
Martine,
Catherine
yeah.
Martin. There I go. See, I told you. Uh, and Catherine Daddario as your
Yes.
leads, as Nora and Harper. What did they bring to the table that helped ground these intense and obsessive energy of true crime sleuths?
Yeah, I think it's funny. Like I've been lucky enough to work with both of them before. Both originally were in my web series.
Mhm,
And I had met Katya first, and she was in several episodes of the web series. And then when I was cast in another role, she's like, "You should really talk to Catherine." She had known Catherine, I think, from like an acting class. And so then Catherine was great, so I ended up casting her. And so like they'd been friends in life, and I wasn't sure like if I was gonna end up working with them in this or not. But I thought if I did, I was like, oh, like they have like a kind of friendship already. And so then you can kind of like mold the characters to like what they do and like what they do best. And like they're both good with, I knew they were both good with comedy already, and I knew they'd both done like dramatic things as well. So it was kind of like that combination, like I thought would work. And since like I knew that even they hadn't like acted together before, or like maybe they have, that they're just kind of like general chemistry combined like with their acting talents would sort of really kind of drive the story, and you kind of feel like, oh no, these two people seem like they would be friends.
Yeah, no, they were a lot of fun to watch. And you could tell they were having fun,
Yeah.
and you're right. The chemistry was really it was there. Obviously, they got along. They were friends beforehand, but because of your background in improv, how much of their banter was scripted versus letting them just riff it on camera?
So, there's very little ad libbing. There was some there like a couple beats here and there, but to be honest with you, the problem with letting people do a lot of improvisation on a film set is that there's no way to edit around it unless they keep doing that new ad lib every time, every take, because otherwise, once you get to post production, you can't cut up like because like often you use parts of a scene, right? You're like, oh, that take part of that take worked. Then we're gonna use this other take, and then combine them together because like the camera's moving like from cutting from one to the other or something. And we had very limited time. Like we made the film in 17 days,
Mhm.
which is pretty fast for a feature length film. I mean, there've definitely been faster, but 17 is pretty. It's a pretty like steep hill to climb. And
Mhm.
so yeah, like I mean, like basically, if they had an idea, often they would come to me and be like, "Hey, what if I changed it to this?" Like we were like talking about it. And I was very open to that. And there are times when we definitely did that. But like once the cameras start rolling, there were like I said, there were a couple times, but it's actually pretty hard when you have very limited time to do it. So yeah, so often it was either like discussed before or it was in the script, and then we would just kind of film.
Yeah, I can see where it can get pretty tricky. And but no, I mean, it felt very organic and very natural.
Yeah, and they're great. Yeah, it felt very like you said, very natural, just because they're just both great actors, and so it just kind of felt very like, oh,
Mhm.
they're being themselves even though they're acting. So yeah.
Right, right. Now, found footage has seen a resurgence lately with films utilizing modern technology. Where do you see the future of docu horror and desktop horror heading next?
Yeah, I think I'm guessing, right? With what's it called? Like augmented virtual reality or something, right? Like I'm sure someone's gonna start playing around with that or pure like the virtual like headsets or something. But
Mhm.
I think yeah, it's just like whatever really, I think it's because the horror films are nimble, as we've discussed. It's like whatever new technology is out there, whatever new like social media platforms are there, they're pretty much all ripe for horror. And so it's just really like kind of like figuring out what like the zeitgeist of like what's going on in our culture, and then just being like, okay, yeah, let me just use that. Like this new, oh, there's this cool new social media platform. That sounds interesting. Like I'll take it. Because I remember like watch like during COVID, have you seen like the COVID era film Host that was filmed
Like,
completely over Zoom?
yes, yes.
Yeah, I thought that was brilliant. And it's pretty simple. They were like, oh, well, we're all kind of like quarantined. So let's just use like this new tool that, even though video like calls have been out before, but just not quite, they weren't quite there yet. And
Mhm.
even they ended up like, they, even though they use Zoom, they still like were filming over like, using iPhones. Like they were sending like all the actors iPhones to just get the footage slightly better.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think it's really just like, um, not planning, just like kind of paying attention to like what is going on, like what are the hot social media platforms or websites, and then yeah, then just like place it in the horror world, and you'll probably be good to go.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see the found footage going in that direction. I mean, with AI especially, uh,
Yeah.
throw that in the mix, and I mean,
Hmm.
that's terrifying in itself.
Right.
And now, what are your thoughts? I mean, the current indie horror landscape.
I mean, it's funny. Like, it's when you're actually like busy like filming and then like doing festival and stuff. You end up falling behind because like you're just so busy with your own film and like editing and post production and then like doing like strategy for things. But I think what is cool is that yeah, I think it's the same thing we said before. It's just like you're just seeing these new voices over and over again, getting a shot of just trying something different. And like Curry Barker, like I thought it was creative how like the Milk and Cereal, his kind of first feature film. Have you seen that
Right.
one?
No, I
Like
haven't.
where it's interesting. Like they basically, I would describe like the cutting as like imagine like those like old Vine videos, like 7-second Vine videos,
Mhm.
and then sometimes like people like clip 7 of those together, right, to like make something happen. So it's kind of like these weird like very sharp cuts where like suddenly like someone's like 10 feet ahead of where they were or something, and that's kind of how they did in like a feature film, which I thought was
Mhm.
very, I didn't see anyone do that before, and I thought that was very interesting. I thought I know they weren't the first, but A Violent Nature,
Mhm.
where they shot it from the perspective of basically like 4 feet behind the serial killer or the monster. And I
Yeah,
thought
yeah.
that was brilliant. And I thought it was so effective because you're seeing them like through the monster's eyes, and like you see someone just hanging out on their lawn 20 feet away, just going about their day, not realizing the
Mhm.
absolute terror that is like near them.
Mhm.
And because almost like that is almost like the perspective of like a shark or something. And so yeah, I don't know, I'm just like I'm really appreciating just like the different chances that people are taking. And again, like whether it works or not all the time, like I know I'm always pro something new and creative and going for it, and they're mostly been successful, so I've been like very impressed.
Yeah, and these voices you speak of, these with new and unique perspectives and approaches, as they've always been there. It's just
Yeah,
the industry wasn't listening because they were making billions of dollars, hand over fist. And
yeah.
but not until you got Damian Leone and Barker coming out with their films, that especially with Obsession coming out,
Hmm.
the industry is going, whoa, okay, we need to pay attention. And since this, I mean, it's being called the film generation.
Yeah.
Uh, and I think that's fantastic because, Hollywood is now, the industry, it's not going to be, they're going to be looking at guys like you and go, well, what is your take? What can you bring to the table? And it's an exciting time for indie horror filmmakers.
Yeah, and I think too, and just like even outside of horror, just like for indie filmmakers, the
Right.
technology is getting better and better, right? Where you can take chances and try to like I've been recently trying to watch films that were made for like $5,000, feature films. I mean, and just seeing like what they did and just trying
Mhm.
like what can I learn from that? Because I'm like for the next thing I do, like whether it's horror or not, I'm just curious of different methods you can do to like make something that isn't crazy expensive but is still engaging, because like, sometimes you see things that are like made cheaply but that are feature and you're like, okay, well, I was kind of bored, I appreciated what they did but I wasn't like
Mhm.
fully engaged. But is there
Mhm.
a story that you can tell on like a micro budget and or a low budget? I don't know. So yeah, I'm excited to keep trying things like that, and also have the scripts that'll work for many millions of dollars. I need producers out there, financiers, but yeah, while until you get that, I think you should definitely, any filmmaker out there should definitely be trying to experiment
Mhm.
and like fitting a story for their budget. I would definitely recommend that to anyone.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, Mason Howard, he did a film called UAP recently,
Hmm.
and that I was really impressed with that. I mean, small budget, but it had a nice polished look to it, great
Yeah,
storytelling, a great cast, and again, just proof positive. It's not about the billions of dollars you toss into the budget, but it's about the skill, the talent, the passion for storytelling that's prevalent in indie filmmaking, and it supersedes a lot of these big blockbuster films that come out today.
definitely. And like you said, like I think like spending time on casting is very important, because if you don't have the actors to pull it off, it's gonna show.
Hmm.
Um, and so yeah, like any filmmaker out there, I'd also recommend like do like spend a lot of time like trying to find like the cast, and
Hmm.
it'll pay dividends later on, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. Now, Muffled, it just had its world premiere at Dances with Films Festival at the TCL Theater in Hollywood, which unfortunately I was unable to attend. Had to go down to San Diego and for the weekend, so unfortunately I didn't get a chance to see it. Which, by the way, thank you so much for the invite. I
Oh yeah,
appreciate it.
no, I mean, we
Yeah.
appreciate what you do. So yeah, it's too bad you couldn't be there. But yeah, the TCL Chinese Theater were beautiful. I mean, like the
Hmm.
seats were like very comfortable. The screen was huge. The sound
Hmm.
system was great. So yeah, it was a lot of fun getting able to
Hmm.
have our world premiere like at that the TCL Chinese Theaters. It was a blast.
Oh yeah. So what was it like? I mean, experiencing the crowd's raw reaction to the film's scares for the first time.
Yeah, it's funny because by the time it gets to the festival, like I've probably seen it like hundreds of times, right? Because like I watch all the raw footage over and over again to like find the takes that are work. Then I work with our film editor, and then he does like a version, and then we have a long discussion about what works and what doesn't. Then he does it again and again, and then so like I mean you keep you lose perspective after a while, right? Like
Mhm.
you just like seen everything so many times where it kind of like it reinvigorates you like, oh yeah, right, at the end of the day this is still a fun movie. Even
Mhm.
though like I've seen it over and I'm picking it apart, trying to like, okay, what can I improve this little thing here or there, or can we add a little bit of color here to modify something? So then, but it was just really fun getting people's like reactions of like, yeah, just some like some kind of surprise scares. Or like a sound like a really loud thump or something, and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot that is scary. Like if you don't know it's coming, after the thousandth time, and so yeah, it was like a couple times where people went ooh, or like you could hear the gas, and like
Yeah.
that's great, and then also like the laughs too, like there are like obviously like some jokes in there, so it was so much fun like hearing people chuckle at some of the jokes, and yeah, so it once you get a crowd, like it definitely makes a difference. I think it definitely makes the experience better. Obviously, most people don't watch most films with a crowd, but whenever you can,
Mhm.
it does just add something to it. I can't explain it, but it is fun.
Oh, it is. I mean, it's all about the collective experience
Yeah,
and the shared experience. I mean, you're sitting there in a blackened room with a bunch of strangers, and you're all
yeah,
experiencing and feeling the same things. I mean, one of my favorite experiences in the theater was Terrifier 3, and
mm,
that was just it was like a party. Um, I,
yeah,
I'm usually that old man shaking his fist in the air, saying, "Shut up, kids! I'm watching a movie," But this was loud, and people were laughing and screaming. And there are times when you just turn over, you turn to the person sitting, to your right, who you don't know, and you're like,
yeah.
"Did you just see that? Wow!" And it's just magic. It really is.
Yeah, totally. That's very true.
Yeah. Now through IMO, which by the way, I love your design, your little opener for I'm OK Productions. It's
Oh,
so
our logo,
adorable.
our animated logo. Thank you so much.
It is so funny. I love it. Now it's noted that you have a few different concepts in development over there. Can you give us an exclusive teaser about a script that's currently at the top of your desk?
Yeah, it's funny, like, 'cause some of it just kind of depends on like, you never know like, what you can raise money for, right? We're trying to raise money for several. I can't tell you which one will end up being, the first one. But yeah, like I've got a holiday film. Again, I think I have nothing against like those Hallmark Lifetime holiday films, but because like there's like a market for them, but I also kind of feel like, oh, it'd be fun to like do something a bit different, right? Like so I'm kind of like taking like my comedic taste and like what would be fun to put into like a holiday film. So like I've got that. I have another horror film that kind of takes uses kind of some shows that are like kind of reality TV based, and then again kind of moves them into like the horror genre. Um and yeah, I don't know. I've got another like a dark comedy that's just kind of about kind of like people who don't have a family who end up kind of finding each other. So you just I just keep writing, and like whatever comes next is great, and I'll just keep writing new stuff until we get the next thing funded, or if I write something at a micro budget level. That's what I'm kind of thinking about. Like this past week, I kind of had an idea of like something that could maybe be filmed that would only need like 2 to 3 locations, but that would be very intense.
Mhm.
And so yeah, I don't know. It's like I said, like my favorite thing is really I get most joy I found writing in different genres. So it might not be horror next. Like I definitely go back to the horror genre because I have ideas for it. And I even have some like I have another muffled like idea like in the muffled universe. So, but yeah, we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, well, you definitely got a knack for comedy, and for horror, and so either whichever route you take, I'm sure it's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Joe.
So now, if a major studio handed you a blank check and a completely open sandbox, what is your ultimate dream project? Is an existing IP or internet mythos you'd love to adapt?
Um, hmm. Yeah, it's funny. Like I have this series idea. Like I love like old like noir films. And I would love to play in that space. Like for me, like I prefer to come up with like create new IP like rather than taking a character that's been done before. Unless something maybe like something like the anime space where I think they're doing some very creative things, like that might be
Mhm.
interesting. But yeah, like I don't know, like I've got like this series called Agatha Austin, and it's this noir series I think would be like so much fun to do, but it's expensive, right? There's no way to do it on the cheap. So like I would have to be like within a studio system or something. And like that would be a blast. But yeah, so I think I don't know. I personally again, like if some cool opportunity came up with like existing IP, I would never, like it's always about what you do with it, right? Like if you twist it in some new ways. So I'm always
Mhm.
open. But yeah, there's nothing that's like in the studio system right now. We're like, oh man, I wish I could do that.
Mhm. All right. So, what do you ultimately want audiences to be thinking about or feeling when credits roll on Muffled?
Like my biggest thing is like I really think in general like films should entertain. So I
Mhm.
really want them to be entertained. Like I want them to go on this ride. I want kind of like if anything unexpected to happen, to be like, oh, wasn't expecting it to go that direction,
Mhm.
and for it to be and for them to enjoy that ride. And yeah, I kind of want them to like leave with some questions and like wondering
Mhm.
about Muffled and the Muffled universe and like could something else happen within it? And yeah, but at the end of the day, I really want them to think like that was fun. I had a lot of fun watching that film.
Nice, nice. Well, yeah, because you really, I mean, we kind of get a sense of a somewhat of a general idea of who the Muffled Man is, but we're not really given a clear picture, which is fantastic. We don't want over analyzed, elements of, well, this is, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because I feel
And
like so much with folklore, often you don't get a full sense, right? Like they're always like, and you go from like city to city, and some women have a slightly different version of like this scary story from their childhood, and I think that's fun. That it's
Mhm.
not like not everything has to be answered for you. I don't think.
Right, right. Well, Stephen, before we wrap this up, please tell our listeners where they can catch your film.
Yeah, so like we're still in the festival circuit right now. We're gonna be at the Richmond International Film Festival. If you're in Richmond, Virginia, in September. We're gonna be at a Screamfest New Orleans in October. Still waiting to hear from other festivals, but if you wanna keep posted about the Muffled film, and also we've been expanding the Muffled lore beyond the film. And so you can go to muffledcurse.com and you'll see like different people's Reddit posts like about their interactions with like Muffled Curse. And you can see some clips. And yeah, you can like enter your email and you'll get more information as new things develop. And then you can be the first to know when you'll be able to see Muffled.
I'll include those links in our show notes. So, folks, keep track of this movie when it comes out. Please go check it out. Or if you're at a film festival or near one that's playing it, please go check it out. It's a lot of fun, especially if you like found footage. Stephen, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate this, and best of luck on your film and your future projects.
Joe, thank you so much. I had a great time. It was a blast. So thank you very much.
Fantastic. And thank you so much for listening, folks. And we really hope you enjoyed the show. Please help to support the podcast by giving us a nice 5-star rating. Leave us a good review. Or another way you can support us is simply to subscribe and or follow us on Amazon, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Deezer, Audible, Boomplay, or wherever you get your creepy podcast fix. Also, don't forget to check us out on Instagram, YouTube, Threads, TikTok, all of this good stuff. You can find it in our link tree link below in the show notes. So click on it, explore, check it out. And if you enjoyed this special interview episode and are just dying for more, just click on the link below in the show notes titled Film Joe Interviews for more fascinating interviews with amazing, talented indie filmmakers like Stephen, who we just spoke to. You can also contact us directly via email to beeronfilmpod@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. So, with that being said, I'm Joe, and this is Fear on Film, where horror lives.